Welcome to Sliders and Wings, a podcast about the TV show Sliders
And the TV show Wings.
and all the other forgotten TV shows of the 90s.
I'm Valerie Temple.
And I'm Rachel Cox. Hello, Val. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you, Rachel?
I'm good. It's getting warmer, so that's nice.
Yeah, I was tricked by the weather this week, actually, because it looked like spring broke and I was like so excited. And then there was one day I had to leave my house and it was snowing and I didn't dress properly and it was
That's what's exciting about spring is you kind of like you always get little surprises.
You don't know what's going to happen when it's spring. It could be a glorious day or it could be snowing.
There was a period of my life when I was very passionate about revoking daylight savings. It's such a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Well, there's one state that doesn't do it, right? Like I think Arizona or
it's like Arizona or like a segment of Indiana, not the whole state, just part of it.
I don't, maybe I'm just not understanding it, but I haven't ever seen any advantage to it.
I mean, I think the advantage of it was way long ago. Olden times. Loved daylight savings, but I don't think it's a concept that has modern applications.
I was downstairs in the bathroom and I had a Mad Magazine segment answer and then I forgot it. And now I'm trying to remember what it was.
You actually had one for Cybill?
Yes.
Really? Because I was stumped by it.
Something about miserable, Miss Cybill.
The best I could come up with was Sibland.
That's good. I was thinking Cybill, like Bull.
Yeah, there are some titles that are just like
Shrivel.
Ooh, I like that.
And then I thought, well, do you know that the title of her autobiography was Cybill Disobedience?
So good.
I have a housekeeping from last week.
Okay, go for it.
So last week we did the Torkelsons with Sarah Cox, and I mentioned Marilyn Vos-Savant. And Bennett listened to the podcast and then texted me yesterday and said, I think about Marilyn Vos-Savant every single day. And I said, I felt so dumb about her name. He goes, no, it's not a pen name. It was her mother's maiden name.
Are you kidding? Wow.
And I haven't double checked it yet. Anywho, okay, so we're here.
That's wild. That's like... Like, what are the odds? I mean, she could probably tell you because she's a genius.
Right into her. What would be the odds that your mother would have a name that would match with what your job is?
Correct.
Got it. Okay, so we're here to talk about Cybill, which was a sitcom starring Cybill Shepherd that ran for 4 seasons from 1995 to 1998 on CBS.
That's right.
So this does not have the NBC comedy prestige. This is like also ran CBS comedy of the 90s.
Right. It's a Chuck Lorre production.
Is he the guy that did Big Bang Theory?
Yes. And Dharma and Greg and 2.5 Men and Young Sheldon.
I saw his name on it and it looked really familiar. I knew he had done a bunch of stuff.
I think he started out with Roseanne. He was like a writer producer on Roseanne. And then he's just Mom is a show he produces also,
which has just been secretly on the air for 8 or 10 years. And
yeah, that is a forgotten show that is on the air. You know, it's like
forgotten contemporary show.
Right, where it's like somehow this is a gigantic hit. Is that true?
Yeah, I think. But the show, it basically is about her. It's just a minimally fictionalized version of her. It even has her name, Cybill.
Right, Cybill.
Twice divorced, just like she's twice divorced. She has in real life has 3 kids. On the show, she has 2 kids.
I wonder which one got the axe.
Well, in real life, she has an older daughter, and then she has twins. I can't remember their gender.
Okay, so you just put those together.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, twins are the same. Yeah, that's one kid.
But Alicia Witt is in it as the younger daughter. Dee Dee Pfeiffer, Michelle Pfeiffer's sister, is the older daughter. Right. And Tom Wopat plays an ex-husband from Dukes of Hazzard.
Right.
And then, but I think that we can all agree that the breakout star of the show was
Christine Baranski.
That's right. I mean, when I think of this show, I just think of watching it and being like, who is this woman?
Yeah, I think that was probably my introduction to Christine Baranski.
Yeah, me too.
The show Cybill.
Because then right after this, I saw her in The Birdcage.
The Birdcage, and then I think she's in The Ref And she was just
I love
like,
the ref. I
oh
love
my
a fighting couple show. Oh my God.
I know. I love
My
them.
mother's favorite movie is Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Oh, really? Yeah, I love
and
them.
sorry, the War of the Roses.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Those are her favorite movies.
So she loves a like angry,
She loves a rivalry.
mean couple. They hate each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of like comedic possibilities with, a couple that doesn't like each other.
Oh my God, it makes me want to watch The Ref again, actually. It's so funny.
It's so funny.
Oh my God,
I
Judy
mean,
Davis. And
I know that Kevin Spacey's canceled and everything, but
I don't think he's so canceled that we can't enjoy The Ref.
I know, like he's not the part that I love about it. It's Christine Baranski saying slipper stocks medium.
I don't think I've seen it as much as you.
I don't know why I remember that line. Christine Baranski's delivery of lines live inside my head. Her in Addams Family Values, things that she said on Cybill in The Birdcage. She just has like this amazing way of talking that she just is so funny.
It's very theatrical.
Yeah.
Now, this Wikipedia is telling me that it was broadcast to critical praise and it was nominated for 12 Emmy Awards and it won the 1996 Golden Globe Award for Best Television Series, that Shepherd won another Golden Globe. Baranski won an Emmy and a bunch of other stuff. But why was it only 4 seasons? And
there's some like drama there. There's like a Me Too angle. She kind of like, it was like abruptly canceled after 4 seasons. It was just like sort of weirdly ripped from the airwaves. And I think she explained it at the time that there was tension with the cast and crew or something. But in her memoir, she says that she thinks that what happened is she went to a lunch with Les Moonves, who was the head of CBS, and he sort of like hit on her and she rebuffed him, and like directly following that meeting, the show was off the air. I mean, I don't know.
Wikipedia is full of that. Her Wikipedia is full of so-and-so hit on her and she rebuffed him and he never talked to her again. It's like Jack Nicholson and Robert De Niro and like 10 other guys that all hit on her and she rebuffed them and they never talked to her again.
She's so beautiful though.
She is, and what is super depressing about the show is that the whole premise of the show is that she's an aging actress who never really hit it big, and she's kind of like, why am I still doing this? And she's maybe 4 years older than I am now.
Right.
On the show.
And like the idea that she is just a disgusting, it's like, ew, who would cast you?
It's hilarious to think of a 45-year-old woman in the 90s as, I don't know, maybe just, medicine has gotten better or people are more into fitness or they just look younger, but people are having babies at 45 now in Hollywood, and Jennifer Lopez is over 50 and she's about to be a grandma. That's the first episode. She finds out that her oldest daughter is pregnant and she's gonna be a grandma. It does have a funny, they do, because she's a bit actress and she's not on a regular show, they have a lot of opportunities to do show within a show. So at least that happened. We both watched the first 2 episodes.
But I have to say that I just maybe a year ago, I watched at least 2 seasons of this show because it's on Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay.
And I have great memories of watching this show. I always thought it was really funny, and I think it was, it came out in 1995, so I think I really identified with the Alicia Witt character. So that like kind of brought me in.
And that's why you dyed your hair red for many years.
Correct. Yeah. I was like, I want to be, she has beautiful hair. It's so gorgeous. She was a hero for me, along with she's like a real Darlene type, which was exactly who I wanted to be when I was a teen. I was like, I want to be the funny, sarcastic, pain in the ass, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I had like really great memories of the show, and it was available for free on Amazon Prime, and I was kind of like, let's check it out. And it's just so, it's easy to watch, it's a half-an-hour sitcom.
A lot of waiters, so many restaurant scenes.
Yes, and
it's just like I saw the first. They were like, there's one restaurant scene, another one. I just sank into it like a warm bath. Like,
I know
restaurants. Oh, just a little waiter joke. The waiter comes and makes little jokes.
Yeah, and that waiter is basically like a cast member. He's in more episodes than
like Gunther from Friends.
He's in more episodes than Jeff.
And there's two really good guest stars in the first episode. There's Tim Matheson, who's famous from Animal House, which I've actually never seen, but I know who he is. And Ivan Sergey, who, you know who he is?
No.
He played the guy who came down to use the shower. He was only in one scene. He was in the TV show. Okay, it made me go and add this to the list immediately. Jack and Jill from the CW.
Oh my God.
Whatever was this before the CW? Jack and Jill with Amanda Peet. But he was in The Opposite of Sex. Remember that movie?
I do remember that movie,
so
yeah.
I don't know what he's doing now, Ivan Sergey, but he's like a tall, handsome, black-haired gentleman.
Yeah. Also, I think Alicia Witt, her character misled me as a teen because she really made it seem like I'd be swimming in handsome guys, dressed in her 90s like palette, like just showing no skin, a vest, a flannel,
but this is the
baggy
problem.
Pants.
The 90s made you think that if you just acted surly and made jokes, that the men would just keep coming. They wouldn't give up. They just keep coming. And that's not true, Val. They give up very quickly.
They really, really do.
I look back on high school and I'm like, oh, I could have had that boyfriend. I could have had that boyfriend. I could have had that boyfriend. I kept thinking they would come back. They did not come back.
No, I was always like heckling boys. And that was like my flirting move. And it didn't work. I had a boy in middle school who asked me if I would, like what we used to say is go out with me. Could you go with me? And my first thought was that he was tricking me. So I said, let me ask my parents and come back to you tomorrow. So I went and asked my parents and they're like, oh, sure. He sounds nice. That's fine. And then the next day, like he didn't bring it up again and I didn't bring it up again. And that was it.
So we never, quote unquote, went out.
This was middle school?
That was middle school.
Middle school is like replete with going out for like 3 days. And like,
but
never
I could have said I went out with someone for 3 days. That would have taken me a long way.
I didn't even have that. I went through my entire middle school career without even a fake boyfriend.
Would you say that the most iconic imagery from this show is the living room window? It looks out onto Laurel Canyon.
It's beautiful, yeah.
I mean, it's the most beautiful fake vista on television. But beyond that, it's a very unusual looking window. It's cantilevered out, like tilted out.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of looks like you're on the bow of a ship. Bow?
A prow.
I don't know. Prow. It looks like you're on a ship or something. It's really cool.
I have to say that this show is incredibly LA. There's like a lot of very LA references that I'm not sure.
Well, there's jokes about earthquakes and fires and like natural disasters.
Coyotes.
And someone steals a car in front of them, coyotes. Yeah. So
now as an adult, knowing more about LA, I'm like, oh, wow, those are actually some good details.
I never have to live in LA because I've seen so many shows set in LA. I mean, I feel like I've lived there. I mean, the amount of time that I've spent watching shows set in LA is at least a year. But this pilot is pretty simple. I mean, there's really only
a lot of characters, but like you get introduced to them very well. It starts out with like one of these show within a show kind of things where Cybill is filming a weird vampire movie or something, and she can't stop laughing while her neck is being sucked. And I have to say, like they do those like they show scenes of her weird little jobs every episode. And some of them are really, really funny. Like there's one that I remember that she's like, she plays like an alien on Star Trek. And then there's just like this running gag that Jonathan Frakes, AKA Riker, the actor Jonathan Frakes, keeps asking her out. And she keeps asking to turn down Riker.
Well, in the second episode, George Hamilton shows up.
Yeah, no,
they're really a weird guest star.
There's tons of guest stars. I think there were guest stars at the end of the first episode. I think it's like the people from Heart to Heart. Do you remember that show, Heart to Heart?
Yes.
Yeah. And then Eric Estrada shows up at the end of the second episode. He plays a prison guard that she has to, spoiler, murder. She murders him like while she's showering with him in a prison. So
yeah,
it's very funny. Cybill is complaining to Marianne, Christine Baranski, about being too old for Hollywood. And then we meet both of her ex-husbands. One is a stuntman, one is a writer. And then we meet both of the daughters, and the oldest daughter announces that she's having a baby. And then also she's driving home from her weird like vampire gig, and Tim Matheson flirts with her in his car. Like they're driving down the highway.
Oh, okay. So the plot is basically that it's just about her getting older. She gets asked out on a date, and then she goes on the date with him, and she's thinking like, if I sleep with you, I'm just going to sleep with you to prove to myself that I'm still sexy. And he's like, oh yeah, you can do it for that reason, but just do it anyway. She's like, okay. Yeah. But then he isn't impotent.
Right.
And then she sees that as a sign that she wasn't sexy enough or something, which is of course ridiculous.
So then she goes over to Christine Baranski's house to complain about this, and while Christine is drinking martinis out of like an exercise bottle, like. And
I have that on my list as the most 90s.
Very 90s, yeah.
It's the pink water bottle, but it also looks like a dumbbell.
A barbell, yeah. Barbell. It looks like a barbell, yeah. And Christine Baranski is complaining about her ex-husband, Dr. Dick, who has left her after 25 years, and she's basically stalking him. So.
Okay, I thought of a title for the Mad magazine.
Yes.
She built. And then all the jokes are about her big boobs.
Yeah, she does have.
Her boobs are amazing.
Yeah.
She's gorgeous. I can't believe she's 45.
She's so beautiful.
And I always get her mixed up with Candice Bergen because they both have C names. They're both blonde. They're about the same age, and they both starred in sitcoms.
Yeah, around the same time.
Weird C names too. I was going to think really hard about it.
Yeah. And then Murphy Brown and Cybill. So.
But does Cybill Shepherd have kind of a reputation where people like she's a joke, or like isn't that like the perception I always got, that she was kind of like her singing the theme song?
Well, okay, so she
released an album.
Yes, which I have the poster for in my bedroom. It's Cybill Shepherd Does It to Cole Porter. It's wonderful. And well, I mean, she kind of like started out sort of underwater because her first movie was The Last Picture Show, which she ended up like having an affair with Peter Bogdanovich, the director, who was married, and his wife Polly Platt was working on the movie as well. So I think she got a reputation from there. And then post The Last Picture Show, Peter Bogdanovich was like very infatuated with her, and there was a lot of choices made that were maybe not that smart. You know, I think he helped produce that Cole Porter record, and then they did this very poorly received musical. Like he directed a musical that she was in, and which I have seen, and it's really not good. So there was just a lot of, and you know, like Hollywood's sort of misogynistic. Peter Bogdanovich could be like a cat about town, and it's okay. He just continues to have a career, but Cybill Shepherd kind of develops this reputation.
Well, her career is really interesting that she had huge success when she was young, and then she took a break and went back to Tennessee, and then met a guy there and like had a baby and got married and then got divorced and then went back.
Right.
And then she did Moonlighting.
Yeah.
And had found this humongous success.
Right. And Moonlighting is an incredible show. She's just like so funny in it.
But I think that the shows that I mean, so Cybill was good. I didn't really have that many deep thoughts about the show. I found it very good and entertaining, and
there was a lot of jokes.
It was good.
It stays like snappy the whole way through.
So I was thinking more about 90s aesthetics and then also what I gravitated towards as a teenager. Because I mean, I was a teenager for the entire 90s. So I was 10 in 1990 and I was 20 in 2000.
Right.
So like I was a captive audience for the whole thing. But I think I gravitated towards shows for adults. Like I wasn't, because the more we put things in the list, the more I'm realizing like I didn't watch Party of Five. I didn't watch Melrose Place. I didn't watch Now 210. I didn't watch any of the shows that were for teens.
Right.
But like I was more interested in being an adult and like trying to get what the adults were talking about.
Watching Father Dowling Mysteries.
Very mature show.
Very mature. It gets AARP magazine. It's so mature.
The outfit that Alicia Witt is wearing in the second to last scene in the first episode when her mother comes to pick her up, she's like got stranded outside the side of the road. She's wearing basically the exact same thing that Liv Tyler wears in the Crying video. Yeah. It's a big oversized fuzzy sweater and then a plaid pleated skirt. I don't know if she's wearing knee socks or not, but that was the most 90s thing. Fuzzy oversized sweater and plaid short skirt.
Yeah, she basically was dressed like Ty from Clueless.
Yes. After
but like before and after, I think, because in the early scenes she's wearing the big baggy pants and like everything's just like oxblood, hunter green, navy blue. It's just a very 90s palette.
Ralph Lauren or pastels.
And then she goes on this, she goes to a party with a 20-year-old guy. She's 16 and, she's dressed up a little bit sexy with this pleated skirt. And then, he finds out she's 16 and dumps her. Which
is not the way you thought that would happen.
No. Surprise.
He found out how old I was and he broke up with me.
Right. Like, all right. That's very nice.
But I'm always trying to figure out, clearly you're looking at it, it looks 90s, but like what about it is 90s? Like, okay, so the way I think of 90s style is that there were two polar opposites. There was the grunge and the artifice. And it was like either dirty, dungy, grungy, or everything was very ironed and hairstyled and sprayed and shellacked, and it looked very fake.
Right.
And then, like, I guess this is more about hair, but hair now wants to look totally natural, right? Like the style is to make it look like you didn't do anything to it. Like it's supposed to look like effortlessly gorgeous all the time. But the 90s, it was okay to look like you had spent a ton of time on your hair.
Yeah, just like flattening it out. Like there's just like really piecey stuff happening all over the place, just so many pieces, and then like some butterfly clips, like everything looked like it took a long time to do, even if it wasn't that polished looking. To me, the most 90s thing was when Ira was talking about going to a rap concert.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the riots.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, I watched the riots on TV." Like, oh God.
Some of that rap music's really good.
He's like, ready to get funky? I mean, having an embarrassing dad is,
They couldn't even come up with like a name of a band.
No, I know. That was kind of bothering me that they couldn't even say like Two Live Crew or Public Enemy, somebody like an LA band or something. They just said a rap concert. And they just kept saying, ready to go to the rap concert? Come on.
Marianne, Christine Baranski's character, her living room almost looks 80s, like the Golden Girls. It's all pastels and beige and oversized and overstuffed and floral. And then, her outfit when they go to Dr. Dick's office in the second episode, how do you describe it? It looks like she's like a purple samurai or something. It's like she's got a big long jacket, and everything is so shiny. It's like everything she wears is very like shiny and stiff, and
She also has like really big hair.
Oh yeah.
It's in like helmety.
She looks like a cartoon. Like she's just super skinny and then like a huge head.
And she's like, I'm a drinker, you know, like, she's a drunk all the time. So yeah, she also looks amazing there are several scenes at the gym, like in both episodes we watched. I think the gym is like a location on the show that just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
But she's wearing like a floral short sleeved, like shorty onesie with like black pants under it. It's incredible. It looks great.
I don't have anything for Accent Corner.
I mean, the only thing I had was just Cybill Shepherd's accent.
Very mild Southern accent.
Just very mild.
Subtle, yeah.
Memphis. Yeah, she's from Memphis. So, but not really anything. We didn't even get her like trying to do an accent in one of the cold open TV movie gigs that she does. That would have been good.
I'm sure that it does happen later, right?
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, I wanted to talk about achievements in theme songs.
All right.
Because the Torkelsons also has a incredibly memorable theme song that we discussed at length. And
are you about to ask me to sing it again?
You sang beautifully. No, you're like, please ask me again. No, the Cybill theme song is also just super
nice work if you can get it, and if you get it, won't you tell me how?
Yeah, and that
it's so obvious that it's her singing it.
Oh yeah, it's definitely her singing it, and it's very snappy. Like it's sort of an unusual credit sequence or like opening credits for a 90s show because it just gets right to it. It's just the star, like Hollywood Walk of Fame, and we don't see like other characters doing anything. It's just the stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame going by, and then you land on a sidewalk chalk star with Cybill written across in sidewalk chalk. So
nice and short.
And then it's nice and short, and then it ends on that like note, and you're into the episode. So nice and sweet, and also just it's something that rattles around in my head.
Yes. I've always remembered that theme song.
Yeah.
Because I heard it before I ever heard the original. So
right.
Like when I eventually heard Nice Work If You Can Get It, I was like, oh, the Cybill theme song.
Yes. You always feel like such an idiot when you're like, oh.
Well, okay, another example is, and we'll get to it when we do that show, but the Grace Under Fire theme song is Lady Madonna by the Beatles. And I'd never heard that song before either. And when I heard it, I thought, well, that sounds like the Beatles.
Yep. But you were tricked. Rachel, what you watching?
I have been watching At Home with Amy Sedaris.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, because I am trying to not expose myself to any social media or news or COVID related things. So what is left to me? But At Home with Amy Sedaris is her kind of fake Martha Stewart vintage. I mean, it's kind of like a fake home craft show, but it is also an homage to 1950s tropes and sitcoms and vintage style and vintage comedy and almost kind of like vintage talk shows kind of. But it's so out of time. I mean, there's nothing topical in it at all, which is just what I need right now. So it's just, and I'm like an Amy Sedaris super fan. I've been a fan of her since the 90s.
Right.
If we want to, I mean, I don't know if this could be on the list, but Exit 54.
Oh, it could be, because I mean, Strangers with Candy, I think
that
is very well remembered.
Right? Yeah.
But Exit 57 is definitely like
57. Oops.
Yeah. That's the one that like, I don't think any people have heard of, but I don't think they've ever really seen it. So.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's streaming anywhere, but I just,
I love her too.
I mean, I don't know how to describe it. I don't like collect anything of hers. I just think her and her brother are just the best.
Exactly. I mean, they're so funny. Yeah, and it's weird that I haven't watched that show yet either, because I'm also like a big fan of hers. One thing I did in the last 2 weeks was, so the Savannah College of Art and Design had this online event with an artist, Marcel Zama, and he was, what part of it was a short film starring Amy Sedaris, where she like played him. It was very funny. So I went to an artist talk that also had like an Amy Sedaris short.
I thought you were going to say that maybe he worked on the show, because
he might have.
The set design and the prop work on the show is bonkers. Like, I can't watch it without thinking about like, how did they do that? And how did they do that? And how do they do that? It's so creative. I mean, they do different, like a brand new title cards, like 3 new title cards for every episode.
I would not be surprised. I probably would guess that he is the creative designer for it, because they did talk about how like they've been collaborating for about 5 years. So that might be it.
I heard her on I think it was Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, which is a pretty good podcast when you like whoever the guest is. And she was on it, and she was talking about how, and this is a theme that they've talked about many times, how their dad, Lou, was always kind of obsessed with Amy being the pretty one, and like always kind of pushing her to like stay in shape and like go get a husband and like be attractive and stuff. And she would play against that. And one of the first times she came home after growing up, she bought a fat suit and she wore it home. But like, she couldn't afford the whole suit. Like, her first paycheck, she went out and got a professional fat suit, but she couldn't afford the whole thing. So she only had the bottom. So like, she put the bottom on with sweatpants on top of it. And the whole Thanksgiving visit she was wearing, and her dad was just like
horrified.
She's like, I'll lose it. Oh no, this will come off. No problem.
Yeah. I remember like David Sedaris's early stories. A lot of them were just like, my sister Amy is pretty hilarious.
Like, you'll never know about her, but
yeah, exactly. Like, she's just for me to know about, like.
My favorite character in the show is, so a few characters in the show are her, and they just do multiple, and I just think, oh my God, can you imagine filming a whole scene and then taking all the clothes and makeup off and getting them all back on again and filming the scene again as the other person in the scene? I mean, maybe this makes me sound so lazy. I'm like, oh, this is so much work.
Yeah, just add.
They even handle it.
Just ask Eddie Murphy. Like, he seems to love doing that. So.
But the other character is Patty Hogg, and it's her neighbor, and they're okay. They keep saying the show is set in the Research Triangle, which I only know now because I was for a while obsessively looking at houses in Durham, North Carolina. But it's like Durham, Raleigh, and Winston-Salem or something.
Yeah, Raleigh, Durham, and Winston-Salem. Yeah,
and then that's called the Research Triangle. But
I've actually been there. I've been to Durham, not to brag, but yeah.
It looks nice.
It's very beautiful.
It's a hot spot.
Yeah.
But Patty Hogg is her neighbor. That's like a full-on Southern Carolinian accent, and she makes really, really funny faces. And I don't know. She's just so comforting.
I don't know why I've been sleeping on this show, to be honest.
Well, because it was on True TV, so it's on True TV. I'm like, okay, well, I don't even know where that is. Like, there's so many weird cable stations now. Like,
right.
I never knew where it was. But then, I got this HBO Max account, and it's changed my life. The greatest stuff just pops up. And then like something pops up. Oh, Amy Sedaris' show is on here. Are you kidding me?
You're like, sign me up.
So yeah, I've just been, burning through it.
Yeah. We've been watching Deep Space Nine. So Aaron had been trying to get me to watch it for a really long time.
And that's a Star Trek, right?
It's a Star Trek.
Where does it fall in the order of Star Trek? It's after the New Generation?
The Next Generation.
Okay, so I only ever watched the Janeway one.
So that's Voyager.
I only watched Janeway and Scott Bakula ones are the only ones
Enterprise. I can't believe this about you, actually. Like, you seem like you would know a lot about Star Trek. I don't know if that like sounds like I'm dissing you, but like...
No, I've had like being trapped on a ship, right, with like some handsome guys. You're at work, you have to be there, nowhere to go. There's like VR. I mean, like, it seems like it could be sexy, right?
I mean, there's the holodeck. The holodeck is a very sexy place sometimes, where you can just
guy on the one with, I can't remember it, the one with Scott Bakula.
Enterprise.
There was a guy on there who was Southern, who had like a very strong Southern accent that was really cute. Trip or something, I think is.
I never watched Enterprise.
Oh, okay.
That's like next to my list.
So I think that there were just two phases of my life where I cottoned on that there was a Star Trek airing at a certain time, and I watched it, but I've never just gone back and I guess filled in the gaps or whatever. When I have tried to go back, it's, as you said,
it's hard.
It's so hard to watch everyone.
I mean, they are long episodes. They're an hour long and they feel really long, but I had been resisting it for so long. I watched Deep Space Nine when I was a kid. I watched Star Trek. Like I watched all of the Next Generation, and then I started watching Deep Space Nine when it was on, and then I also started watching Voyager when it was on, and then around the same time, I just sort of was like fell off on both of them, and then just didn't revisit it. And so, as I mentioned before, like we went back to Voyager and sort of found the way to make it enjoyable, which was to skip a bunch of episodes. But then Aaron was just like, let's watch Deep Space Nine. Let's do it. And I really, really didn't want to. But I was like, okay, let's do it.
And how many seasons are there?
7. Yeah. But it immediately felt so comforting to me. Like I was like, oh yes, the Star Trek universe. It's obviously like
have you seen the Star Trek themed episode of Black Mirror?
I haven't.
You have to watch this.
I know. I've only ever
seen only one episode of a show.
I've only ever seen one episode of Black Mirror.
But you don't need, they're unrelated, so you can just watch that one.
I know. It's just that like I watched that first episode of Black Mirror is that pig episode, and it disturbed me so badly that I was like, no. Oh
my God, that made me want to watch it the whole thing.
Oh no,
Sign me up.
I think afterwards I was in shell shock. I was like,
I feel like Black Mirror just describes my personality. Like I'm Black Mirror.
That's not good.
I don't really tweet. I don't tweet anymore, but I never really tweeted that much because I don't have any followers. But one of my tweets when it first happened was, wow, I didn't realize that restaurants and coffee shops were keeping me alive this entire time. Like, keeping me from the edge.
It's true. Like, I think people have really realized that restaurants are integral to our well-being.
Yes.
You're like, ooh, because going to a restaurant, it's like wish fulfillment. You're like, I get to order whatever I want. Oh, someone brings it to me. I get to enjoy the meal. I get to talk to my friends while I'm doing it. It's really a beautiful thing to do, you know?
I really want to go to comedy clubs when we
really
can. Won't that be fun?
I guess it will be.
2-drink minimum, $20 hamburgers.
Yeah. I think I went to a comedy show that was like one of the last things that I did before it all like fell apart. I went to see Taylor Tomlinson.
Oh, she's good.
Yeah, she is good. And yeah, she talks about it too, where it's like, yeah, I dropped my like special and I got to go to one show and it was in Cleveland, Ohio. And I was like, I was there. It's just sort of like thinking about like being part of someone's memory of like it all, like, where were you when this happened? Like, where were you just before like the world stopped? It's like, well, I was in Cleveland, Ohio.
I actually went to Austin right before everything locked down. So I actually got to go somewhere as a last gasp.
I've never been to Austin, but I've always wanted to go. So
it's probably not a shock to you being in Ohio, but compared to any dense East Coast city, every other city sounds so spread out. You're just like, God, everything's so far away.
Yeah. Cleveland is, it's definitely, it's spacious, but it's definitely not as spacious as Texas, you know, where you're like, oh.
But the hip neighborhoods of Texas, well, what I liked about it was the climate is so different. Like the smells are different. There's different plants growing. There's different bird calls. There's different bushes and trees and stuff. And it's even, I guess, going a few hundred miles away, you're like, oh, it's like everything looks so different.
I do like that. You're
Yeah.
like, ooh, a different environment. Ooh, look at this. I feel like I'm on a different planet. It's like being on the holodeck in Star Trek. You could just go anywhere you want. Just
Exactly.
tell
And
the
with-
computer to take you there, and you're there.
With that note, I think we can
wrap it up.
wrap it up on Cybill. I don't know what my like summation is. I didn't have any. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I don't think I would watch it.
There is a lot of laughs to be had. Although another thing I had listed on my most 90s thing is gay panic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn into a lesbian.
Yeah, like, oh, there are definitely a couple jokes where like Ira's talking about like sensitivity and becoming more sensitive and less condescending, and the waiter's like, here's my number, or like he brings him sorbet.
Yes,
like, this
which
is
some
for
sort
you.
of gay code. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually didn't get that joke until they referenced it later.
Definitely some sort of gay waiter thing.
Yeah, both episodes had a couple of suspect gay.
I would say
references.
that they walked up to the edge and didn't cross it though. So when the teenager, the mom makes, Cybill makes her mad and she goes, if you don't like stop this, I'm gonna turn to a lesbian. And Cybill's just like, huh?
Yeah, she doesn't.
But if she had been like, no,
and then, right,
then it would have crossed the line
then
into homophobic.
Then Cybill's like 2 ex-husbands are like annoying her, and she's like, maybe your lesbian thing is not a bad idea after all. But yeah, I mean, I just thought it was Christine Baranski. Definitely, I don't even think these 2 episodes that we watched really showcased how great she is. She just seems, I love her. She's wonderful.
Cybill is on Prime if anyone wants to check it out.
We can sort of lukewarmly recommend it to you. It'd be like an okay time for you.
I feel like my hesitation is more just that I don't watch any traditional sitcoms. I'm interested in watching sitcoms if they also have something nostalgic.
Yeah.
About them.
And also you just have to have a super compelling person to hang it all around, And I guess Cybill Shepherd is sort of that. Like she's she's funny, but I don't know if I would I don't know if her story of it's not very relatable to me.
No.
I
mean, you could say though that this is a very 90s show. It's like divorced woman makes her own money, independent.
Yeah, and it's kind of feminist in the way that it's talking about women and how tough it is, and she's making her own way, hell or high water. So I mean, that is her. Cool.
I mean, I never really watched Moonlighting, but her acting is kind of uneven. There are places where she's so funny and sharp, and then there's other places where she seems kind of like cuckoo.
Right.
Like where she just is over the top hysterical, or usually in the show within the show.
Right.
But
do you know that part where there is an earthquake?
Yeah.
That wasn't scripted. There was actually an earthquake that hit the studio, and they just reacted in character, and they just left it in. I think that's why you hear an applause break from the audience. They were like, woo, wow, way to handle it. So I mean, at least I think that shows some skill. Again, easy. It goes down easy.
It goes in easy.
It's not particularly remarkable in any way, but.
Are you a Golden Girls fan?
Oh, of course I am.
So have you seen every episode?
Yes.
I don't think I've ever gone back and watched every episode of any sitcom besides Seinfeld.
It can be hard to do. I tried to rewatch all of Golden Girls a couple years ago, and for some reason I fell off by the last season. I only had 1 season left, and I just petered off. But
season where they all die?
They don't. Some of them go on to own the Golden Palace. They had a spin-off of their own, basically, that was every cast member except B. Arthur, who didn't want to do it anymore.
I was just wondering if you thought Golden Girls was funnier than Cybill.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Golden Girls is hysterical. It's just the jokes are so good and each character is so well defined that you can kind of, even though you know there's these like ongoing bits, you're just like, oh, okay, Sophia's gonna tell us something about Sicily. Okay, you know, Betty White's gonna go on about Saint Olaf. You know, Rue McClanahan's gonna talk about her sex life. Even though those are all like, you know, things that happen in each episode, there's somehow they're so funny. It just they're just so funny. So yes, the Golden Girls is funnier than Cybill, and that is my final answer.
All right.
Okay.
Good night.
Okay. Good night, Rachel.
Bye.
Bye.